Good morning, dear children. Welcome back to the new lesson. Today we are going to see in economics the globalization and trade. What do you mean by globalization? Globalization is an integration of country with the world economy. Basically, it has been laid in different countries, but the motherland will be their main firm. Okay, in this lesson, we have to know about the term LPG. The L stands for liberalization, P stands for privatization, and G for the globalization. So when we are about to talk about the globalization, we have to know well about the liberalization, the countries who allow the other country to have their industry lay in their own country were liberal in certain rules and regulations. For the private countries, that is what is liberalization and privatization. This in turn coincide to form the globalization. It unites the world country through the trade. But the profit will be taken to their motherland. Okay, it's purely to say yes, globalization is as like slavery. Well, we'll move on to the lesson. It's a new economic policy that has been implemented by the Indian government in 1991. But this new economic policy has been strengthened in 1994 through the Duncan's Act. What is globalization? Free flow of goods throughout the world that has been introduced by Theodore Levitt. What do you mean by free flow of goods? Any of the country, they can have their own products to be sold in other countries, whereas they have tie between them with the agreement, with the treaties. That is what is free flow of goods through globalization. Now we'll move on to the history of globalization, how this globalization has been started. The very first period is called as Archaic globalization. The term globalization have been introduced and given to the world by Theodore. Okay, we'll see who's the person have been extended this to other countries. It has been spread in 3rd century, especially by the Sumerians and Indus Valley civilization. It has been started with the needs arises. What were the needs? Especially in those days, we talk about food. So, you know very well, children, about the barter system, goods for goods. When the need arises, they wanted to change or exchange their goods by what they have in their hands. So through this Archaic globalization has been spread out. It has been commercialized in the urban centers and started to increase the trade and have been seen with the profit. Later, it has been exchanged with the means of money. Again, it has been spread throughout Mughal Empire and Islamic period. The next one we are going to see is Proto globalization. It has been spread in 16th and 17th century. This proto-globalization has been specially characterized by the maritime European empires. So when they were about to find new sea route or discover the new sea route to other countries, they started this trade. The very first person have been launched his ship in India is Vasco da Gama, that is with the Portuguese. So after Portuguese, Spanish, Dutch, British and French people have entered into India. They started that trade. So this trade, what they have started is called as a private trade. British have started English East India Company and called it as the multinational corporation in those period, because it extended its wing throughout the world. That is what is Proto globalization during the period 16th and 17th century. The third one is what we call as globalization in modern times, that is have been started in 19th century. It has been purely with the capital, the investment. So the economy, whoever has a higher amount of share is called as merchants. They were able to lay the firms in their country as well as in other countries, as we have called as imperialism. You know very well what's the meaning of imperialism. They went out of the country to sell their products. That is what is capital imperialism. Okay. So when they were about to increase the production in their multinational firm, they hardly need the markets to sell. That is what is modern globalization. We have lots of difference between the first two and this globalization. The main point is with two aims. That is what I told you. First aim is capital, investment and economy, and the second one with higher shares of merchants. Remember children, it's very important because we are in the modern globalization. Well, as we have seen how this has been spread or just spread out its wing throughout the world, we are going to see about the merchant guilds, the formation of trades. The South Indian trade guilds with the merchants, they grouped together and expanded their goods and services to neighboring places, which organized with an expand trade. The trade also transformed their culture, the language, the way of style, everything. Especially talking about during the Kalinga's period, they increased much trade. Now we call this place as Odisha. And next with the European traders, since they have been found with the new sea route, they were able to establish their wing throughout the world. This is how the formation of traders have been created. Who were the European traders? They have entered into India. The first European trader from Portuguese in 1498. He was the person Vasco da Gama landed in Cochin, Calicut. We call it as Calicut. So he was about to start his merchant ship in Cochin. Actually, he has taken to his motherland 60 times cost of the entire expedition to India. That much he has been exploited India. And by the next time when he arrives to India, he was about to establish a trading center in Calicut, Cochin and Kannanur. Thus, he laid a firm place in India. So, with Portuguese, it has been started and continued by the England people. That is with the English people. That's what is called as English East India Company, EEI, English East India Company at Masulipatinam in 1600. This is a very interesting fact that I have to say you, because in 1600 with just 100 merchants, the English East India Company has been started. As a traders, they have entered into India. But sorry to say, it was about 2 centuries they have occupied, made India as slaves. And they were about to exploit the resources. This is how the Britishers entered into India. Just with 100 merchants, later the whole India have been under their control. A third European trader were Dutch East India Company. They have started in Pulicat. That was his headquarters in 1602. Danes, they were called as Danish people. Their headquarters is Strakubar in 1616. The final entry of European traders were French people. Even now, Pondicherry has been considered as a French quarters. Okay, this was the headquarters. They have made an entry in 1701. And in between these, 1498 to 1701, many changes have been occurred in India. A war, many wars, not a single war, many wars have been started between these European traders. They wanted to hold firm in India. So during the war, the Dutch and the Dane, even though the Portuguese lost their position, what they have holded in India. Finally, English, the British and the French people were in India for a long period. Later, between the war with the British and French, the English won the war and French have been pulled out. This is what with the European traders. We never mind worry about the war. We'll look into globalization. Globalization in India. 1980. Okay. 80 to 81. There was an increase in oil price. We hardly need oil for everything as a fuel. Okay. So due to the Gulf War, the Indian government have been met with crisis. What was the crisis? 40 tons of gold is the balance payment to England. So the government was unable to face this debt. In 1991, the new government wanted to form an economic policy. That is what I was about to say in the beginning, LPG, liberalization, privatization and globalization. So this has been introduced to welcome or invite the world traders into India. We'll see again about a new policy, LPG in 1991, which has been strengthened by Dunkel draft in 1994. Well, what were the reforms of globalization? It abolished industrial license for certain industries. So many of the private industries have been given license. Reduced public sector. What do you mean by public sector? The governmental industry, which has been won by the people, that has been reduced. They were about to fix rates for goods. So fixation of rates is good, quite good. It's needed because there will be not the variation between the rates. Increasing job opportunities. reduce import duties. When they were about to reduce import duties, what happens? Lots and lots of foreign goods have been imported into India. It's really a curse for Indians. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Foreign exchange regulations have been regulated. Finally, SLR, statutory liquidity ratio. This has been introduced. What's that SLR? We'll see in next slide. Okay. The statutory liquidity ratio refers to the proportion of deposit in the commercial bank. What they wanted to deposit in the commercial bank? The liquid asset. Okay. So the liquid asset as a payment they have been deposited. This is what is SLR, which has been seen in the reforms of new economic policy. When there was a reform of new economic policy, the globalization, what were the impacts of globalization? We have two impacts, positive and negative impacts. First of all, we'll see about the positive impacts. We'll just move on to the positive vibration. Okay, children? Well, the development of capital market. What's the meaning of capital market? Whoever is rich have been made much richer than the before. Standard of living has been increased. The increase in employment, GDP, gross domestic product, what that has been got within the territory, that has been increased. The foreign direct investment has been increased. No regulations for them. What do this foreign direct investment introduce? With the new technology and new scientific research, which gave name and fame for the foreigners. Have it in your mind, children. These were the impacts, that is positive impacts we call as. We'll move on to the negative impacts. Free flow of capital. The foreigners were ready to invest in India, especially for the lower wages of employment. So they were ready to lay the firm here, which was unfair and immoral distributors have been arised. Loss of national integrity, no unity, no integrity among the traders. The domestic policy has been lost. Finally, they were about to exploit the natural resources, because why they wanted to worry about India's resources? How much ever they can able to exploit, they were doing that. So exploiting the natural resources, and there were no proper regulation to protect environment. There were some regulations for the foreign investor in the environment. So all these degrade India and the surroundings. It's a fame, okay? We'll see about the challenges of globalization. The global extension will not happen automatically. It has to take a long time. You know very well how the European traders entered into our country and holded our own country and made it slave. So like that, the growth of globalization also has been extended slow by slow. There was an imbalance in developing which leads to global competition. It was an embarrassment feeling between the traders, the local traders and the foreign traders. which increased child labor and slavery. Also, most of them were addicted to junk foods, which degrade the health condition and also spread disease in India. Finally, it was a very worse condition to talk about the environment which degrade due to globalization. The next we are going to see is MNC. When we are about to talk about globalization, sure that we have to know the term MNC, that is called as multinational corporation. This MNC have the control from their mother country, and wherever to whichever country they make the agreement, they occupy that country as a globalization trade and own the other country for trade. We have 4 major MNC countries in the world. The largest among them is USA. And the next one is United Kingdom. The third is France and the fourth one is Germany. We'll talk about MNC in detail in the next chapter. Well, move on to the homework. Today we have of about 5 short answer and 1 detail. Children, we are about to face our second monthly. So be careful, concentrate and learn. Have it in your mind that you are in the 10th standard. We are about to appear board exam. Okay, children? Well, your first answer, you open your book and start to mark these answers. First answer in page 303. Okay, 303. The history of globalization. You mark that 3 globalization, the 3 phase of globalization. The second one is what is the meaning of or define globalization. That is also in same page. That globalization we have 4 lines. The third one, reforms of globalization, in page 305. You mark only 3 points. Okay, it is by 305 by the right side bottom, first 3 points. Fourth, the short answer is positive impacts. In page 308, we have 2 points by the right bottom and the third point in next page. You can have the third point. Okay, 3 points. So positive impacts in page 308 and 309. The fifth, the short answer is multinational corporation. It's over here. You can mark it in your book. So with this, we'll move on to the important terms that has been seen here in this session. Okay. The World Trade Organization, the GATS, that is the meeting of GATS, and the FIRA, Foreign Exchange Regulation, and FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management. All these are very important terms that we'll see with the coming session. Finally, you have one more detailed answer, the challenges of globalization. This also you can mark it in your book. Well, children, see you in the next session. Thank you.